Welcome to Weekly Digest, where we highlight the work of ministers of government as they push the administration's development agenda. Picking up from where we left off last week, Minister of Public Works Bishop One Edgell on Saturday last urged women not to be silenced by acts of violence. The minister made the call while delivering remarks at the Women's Progressive Organizations event aimed at observing International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women in Linden Region 10.
To all the women here today, as we stand against this scourge, don't listen to the sweet talk of any man. Protect yourself and do what is necessary. So part of the problem is how we are socialized. And we can't solve a problem at the same level that it was created. If a problem is created at a particular plane, you have to get a higher level of consciousness to solve that problem. So we must start working with men. We got a lot more to do with women. But if we're going to protect our women, we got to do a big job on our men.
From last Saturday, Guyana hosted His Excellency Dr. Mohamedou Bawumia, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, and his 18-member delegation who arrived in the country on Saturday for an official visit. The Ghanaian Vice President and members of Ghana's private sector, who also made up the delegation, was welcomed by Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips at the Chedi Jagan International Airport on Saturday afternoon. The official visit of Ghana's Vice President follows Vice President Dr. Bar Jagdio's visit to the African nation back in October. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony announced on Monday that all of the ministry's COVID-19 vaccination sites across the country would be offering booster doses for persons 18 years and older.
So those previous requirements that we had where you have to be 50 years and older, we have now lowered that requirement to 18 years and older. So once you have received for a 2-dose primary regimen, your vaccines, and now you're 6 months after that 2-dose, you can come and get a booster dose.
Teleperformance Ghana is being encouraged to expand its operations beyond the boundaries of Georgetown Region 4. This invitation was extended by Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, during a celebration of the company's 5th year of setting up operations in Guyana.
I would encourage you to consider those destinations because we want those jobs. The tremendous growth that you have achieved here thus far, in fact, can be replicated and extended and expanded upon elsewhere. And so as you consider that Caribbean expansion to which you refer, I would urge you to consider expansion within Guyana, geographical expansion, regional expansion within Guyana to other cities and towns, other regions and towns in Guyana beyond Georgetown.
Minister Singh says government is committed to working along with BPOs in their expansion and development. Government, through the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, is requesting proposals for the development of eco-lodges and resorts in identified regions countrywide. The ministry says it is prepared to offer attractive incentives for proposals. In a recent interview, Tourism Minister Onij Walleran said there is need for upgraded facilities.
To have upgraded facilities, to have facilities that cater to different tastes, different needs, different budgets, depending on how much you would like to spend. And what we found that there has been a gap for luxury rooms where some people just like to come with their hammocks and throw in camp. Some people like air-conditioned experience.
Also on Monday, Guyana received a third shipment of COVID-19 vaccines. The shipment comprised 42,120 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, a donation from the United States government through the COVAX facility.
As you know, when we started our vaccination of persons here in Guyana, we had trouble getting vaccines. We did not have enough for everybody. But over the last couple of months, we have been able to correct that situation thanks to the generous donation of countries that make up COVAX, because without those donations, we would not have received these vaccines. COVAX as a mechanism has really worked for developing countries. So not only we have benefited, but many countries across the world would have benefited from these donations.
Minister of Human Services and Social Security Dr. Vindya Prasad has endorsed state prosecution even if a complaint has been withdrawn. Minister Prasad says this is to ensure accountability. She made this declaration during a panel discussion held at the Department of Education in Region 3 as the ministry's 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign continues.
One of the areas, and I've said this many places, that I would like to see change is that the state continues to prosecute. So even if a woman pulls back and says, "Man, sorry for he," the state continues. And that's an important thing because people must be held accountable. And accountability starts at an individual level.
Checking in on Ghana's vice president's official visit to Ghana, Ghana's private sector has expressed an interest in Ghana's developing oil and gas industry and in the areas of infrastructure, tourism, and agriculture as well. The two private sectors met during a networking session at the Artichoke Conference Center on Tuesday. Chairman of Ghana Investment Promotion Center's governing board, Alex Daddy, said as Ghana seeks investment, Ghana would be the perfect destination. Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Office for Investment, gov't, Dr. Peter Ramsarup, said the investment opportunities between the two countries are tremendous. The indigenous community of Warapoko Region 1 has been given an economic boost with the commissioning of its guest house intended to host tourists in the village. The village recently launched its tourist itinerary at the Umaniana, which highlighted the natural beauty and cultural attractions the village has to offer tourists. Acting Director of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Kamal Baksh, noted that the development of Warapoko's tourism product took about 5 years and all the relevant training was supported by the GTA. The GTA is also working to have a solar system and water system installed for the guest house. In the new year, the GTA will be working with its developmental partners to provide internet access so that guests can make bookings online, among other benefits. Warapoko is one of 4 pilot communities where the GTA is fostering the initiative of community-owned and led tourism. 5 tractors and trailers valued at $4.7 million each was handed over to 5 villages in Region 8 as part of government's efforts to stimulate agricultural development in hinterland communities. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell officially handed over the keys to the brand new tractors to the villages of Waipa, Kaibarupai, Kamana, Kopinang, and Maikwak at the weekend.
And I want to ask you, therefore, that you take good care of this tractor, that you put a team in place to manage it. Don't let it be any one man or one woman show. Let there be a team, a management team, to monitor the usage of the tractor for ensure that you have proper usage and there is no abuse. To put systems in place so that the tractors can be maintained.
This year, the government, through the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, procured a total of 112 tractors at a cost of $446 million. 12 secondary school students will now be furthering their studies at the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination at the West Demerara Secondary School, Region 3. West Dem has become the first school in the Essequibo Island West Demerara region to offer CAPE subjects to students. At the commissioning, Minister of Education Priya Manikchand said government is committed to ensuring that every child has access to an education as per the PPPC administration's vision of universal education for everyone.
Universal means all over. Everywhere in Guyana, a student will be able to access secondary school.
Women can now deliver babies in a more comfortable and hygienic environment at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation as a new wing was commissioned at the maternity unit on Wednesday.
In Guyana, we normally would get about 14,000 to 15,000 births a year, and about 40% of those births happen here at the Georgetown Public Hospital. And not only do they manage this volume of patients, but they also manage the most high-risk patients here at this hospital. So it's very important that we do so in the right ambience.
Members of government and the diplomatic corps gathered in their numbers for the launching of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security Community Advocate Network ICANN initiative. This is part of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence that commenced on November 25, 2021.
Violence against women and girls has no place in the 21st century, no place in a developing Guyana. And I take this opportunity to add my voice against violence against women and girls in our society. It must stop now.
Today is a very symbolic day. I would like to think it's a historic day, because it's a day when we harness the energies, the passion, the commitment, the voices, and the hands of all of you and all beyond you. CAN stands for Community Advocates Network. And more than that, when we say can, I can, you can, we can, it solidifies our dedication and our commitment to a cause that I think would have existed before all of us, irrespective of where you are on the age list. Violence is not new. Violence against women and girls, definitely a global challenge. But violence against women and girls and boys exists in our country. And we need to not be blind. We need to not be dismissive. We need to hear the repeated cries for help. We need to look beyond the physical and understand the emotional scars. We need to do what Sabita just said, hold people accountable.
An early Christmas came for scores of nursery and primary school students who received gifts compliments of the Chedijagan International Airport. Over 1,000 presents were distributed to 8 schools in the Timiri-Soosdijk area. Leading the exercise was Minister of Public Service Sonia Parag, Minister within the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for public affairs Kwame McCoy, and CJIA's Chief Executive Officer Ramesh Gir.
I am really excited about this, just to see the faces of the children when they receive the gifts. As we know, little kids get so excited at Christmas time when it's time for presents. And so I was really happy to be on the giving end this year.
Minister McCoy says the distribution of gifts is a very important gesture as government understands what it means to invest in the children of Guyana.
And I'm happy that through these gifts, we have been able to bring joy to the faces of our children. They're all happy, and I know you're all looking forward to a wonderful Christmas. You're still young, very small, but Guyana has an exciting future ahead, and we want to make sure that you're part of that future. That's why we make provisions, such as the distribution of gifts here, to make sure that you understand the whole reason for Christmas and what it means to share.
As the government presses forward with its mandate of enhancing technical and vocational education, Minister of Labour Joseph Hamilton reiterated his commitment to the staff of the Board of Industrial Training, BIT, at the entity's end-of-year press conference on Wednesday.
What I want you to do is to recommit yourself to the organization that you serve. I am recommitting to you that I will make the facilities available to ensure that you can execute your task. And I will ensure that no one come in your way.
Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, says the designs for 3 primary healthcare facilities, namely Bartica, Suddy, and West Demerara hospitals, will be completed early 2022. The minister says the project is funded through a loan granted from the Indian government to the tune of US $17.5 million.
We have a loan that we've gotten from the Indian government, and that loan is to help us with the design of the new facilities and, of course, to fund the building out of those facilities. We have gone a good way in terms of the design. So those designs would be completed by early next year for West Demerara Hospital, Suddy Hospital, and Bartica Hospital. The loan with the Indian government is at $17.5 million US dollars. So that has been signed some time ago, and that's what we're working on for the 3 hospitals.
Some 170 residents of Mahika Berbice received their house lots on Wednesday as the Ministry of Housing and Water Central Housing and Planning Authority held its final Dream Realized house allocation exercise in Region 5. This exercise was held at the Blairmont Community Centre ground. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell told the gathering that this initiative reaffirms the PPPC government's commitment to delivering 50,000 house lots within its first term in office. He says this allocation exercise will see CH&PA reaching its target of delivering 10,000 house lots by the end of 2021.
Block A, Baltiok, the area for which we are allocating today, is ripe for development. And so you, as the first 170 allottees, you will set the pace for others who will follow in subsequent allocations, for which we expect to have a focus here in Region 5 in next year's program. Like other regions, Region 5 has a growing list of persons who want low-income housing and access to round-the-clock potable water, among other social amenities. We are doing our best to ensure that we bring you this in totality within this 5-year period.
Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Susan Rodriguez, in brief remarks, stated that government's National Housing Program not only aims to boost the country's development, but improve the lives of all Guyanese.
The area that we will allocate today is also an easy one for you to be able to acquire your ownership documents and so on, because it's an area that is already owned by the Central Housing and Planning Authority. So it will be easy for us to allocate you and to help you through the process if you wish to approach the banks for construction, and then to get you ultimately to receive your ownership documents in your certificate of title.
Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa has distributed 250 hampers to Fisherfolk of a 3-Door Fishermen Cooperative Society of the Edward Village, Region 5.
We will put all measures in place to protect this industry, because this industry is capable of bringing us revenue and at the same time provide cheap proteins for the country's population.
The minister explained that the challenge faced by fisherfolks is not only affecting Ghana's waters, but rather a global issue. Government is in consultation with the Environmental Protection Agency and United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization to determine the cause of the problem. 31 students from Silver Hill, Kairuni, and Adventure on the Susdike-Linden Highway are now more knowledgeable and empowered in the area of information technology after completing the basic ICT training course through government's Community ICT Training Program. Minister within the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for public affairs, Kwame McCoy, in his address at the closing ceremony, said that government will continue to make investments in its human resources, ensuring that citizens are equipped with the necessary skill sets and knowledge for a growing technological future filled with many opportunities.
Now that we are an oil and gas producing nation, the opportunities are even more bountiful. And therefore, we are going to be investing in the future of the children of this community and those of other communities across the country, and to make sure that we can take you along the pathway to success and development. The future is about ICT. We have witnessed over many years the evolution of information communication technology. We see today all across the world what it has done to communities, transformed lives and communities.
That's it for this edition of Weekly Digest. For these and other government-related information, do log on to our website, dpi.gov.gy, and our social media platforms as well. Goodbye.